Howdy, y'all. This is Market Explainer. We are America's #1 business news podcast. My name is Danny. I am the lead senior vice president co-host.
Stop telling people that. You are not the lead vice president of nothing. Absolutely nothing. Go ahead.
And joining me is the other person who is here all the time, the big man. Sometimes I call him the large person.
I'm going to have to start talking first just so that I can say I'm the lead vice president. We're going to have to start taking turns so that I can, pull you out. Go ahead.
Whenever something goes wrong, and I'm not even there to be a part of going wrong, the big man says, and it's your fault, with as my uncle Benjamin, where he met his ultimate demise, with great responsibility comes great responsibility.
You just butchered that saying for no reason at all.
Whatever.
All right, so what are we here to talk about today, Danny?
Today is going to be a little different thing. Before we jump into it, we are going to talk about this podcast, why it exists, who we are, what we're doing here, our vision for the future, why are two guys, large people who collectively develop a gravity pull, why are we still doing a podcast after a year? But before that, I want to tell you about where our full-length videos are going to live in the future. They're going to be living on patreon.com/. This will be the last full video episode available on YouTube. Trying to do doing other stuff. We're branching out. Our brand is growing, if only in our own minds, but it still counts. So, yeah. But basically, what I was saying today, like a little before that, and again, of course, that is marketexplainer.com and patreon.com/marketexplainer. Website has all the sponsors, link to our Patreon, all of our episodes, and all of that jazz. On where the full-length episodes will live. Our clips will still come out on YouTube. The audio will still come out the way it always has. Anyways,
well, this is magic number 50, right? That's why we decided to make this kind of, clip to the way we're doing and changing and that kind of stuff. It's magic number 50. We've been out this about a year now, right? That kind of stuff.
Oh.
It's been fun. We've been growing, that kind of stuff. As Danny likes to say, the #1 business news podcast, right? So I think it's a good opportunity to move in that direction. Again, and I've said this before, we're not the first one to make this, right? Joe Rogan obviously did this, to move all of the full episodes to, a Patreon type of thing, right? Spotify in his case. What's the news people did it this way, right? Breaking news or breaking whatever they are, Sacker and Breaking Points, right? Which I still hate that name, by the way. But
I hate their show, so I don't bother watching.
You do not hate their show. Stop telling people that. No, you don't.
So I've met Crystal Ball in person, right?
I know you've told me that, but if Sagar or Crystal wanted to come on this show and talk about business, that I would be fine with it. But Danny, you're fine with that, but you hate their show. Anyway, the point is,
I don't dislike them. I just hate their show.
This is the trend of shows that are growing, right? You take your full episodes, you put them on Patreon, you put them on a paid service, whatever, and you splice up the show. We'll still splice up the show and put the smaller, on YouTube, and we'll break up the show into obviously the two different anchor channels we have. We have a clips version of the show, and we have the full version of the podcast as well. Those will all live there as well, just like they have been, that kind of stuff. So Danny, what have we learned in the year we've been doing the show? We had a name change.
Yeah, so listen, we tried to pop out there with a kind of off. With an in-your-face brand for our show.
Yes.
For what we do here. It's for idiots. The genesis of that name, I think we've discussed this plenty of times here, but new people here and all. Genesis of the name was simple as we were initially, Big Man and I had talked about doing a political podcast.
Right.
And some point in time, I just stopped returning his messages. I love him, but I just didn't make it to him that I can't do it. I was going to be so depressed if we talked about politics.
Sure, because of what it is, right? And I
Yeah,
agree with you. I came to the same conclusion eventually. Was talking about that in the world that we live in, over and over as a topic, right? Day in, day out, week in and week out. I agree with you. Would have taken us, like it does most people, down a very dark path. Breaking
correct.
Points again is a great example of that. I like those too, but it can be very difficult to talk about what they talk about on a daily basis, right? Because
So
of how frustrating
I
it is.
so the reason we did idiots for simply because I am open about the fact that I'm an anarcho-capitalist, and that simply means I'm the most libertarian. Um, and nonetheless, there's really not much I'm going to say except, well, the government shouldn't exist. Like that's the. I'm just going to keep saying that for every topic.
And he's full of
Um,
it. And but that makes sense, right? But
right.
Idiots versus Idiots came about because that was kind of the first thought of the show.
Yeah.
And then even once it went into, okay, let's talk about more business and entrepreneurship,
And part of it,
and I think we both still like the premise of
yeah,
the in your face initially of idiots versus idiots. I'm an idiot, you're an idiot, we're all idiots, we all can learn,
correct.
right?
And the main reason, part of the reason we did that was I said, hey, I am so happy to invest time in a project with Buddy Big. I like
Mm-hmm.
working with them. We're going to be working on some other projects outside the world, but outside of the Market Explainer universe. But um, I said, hey, we need to figure out a way to, because I'm just going to say what I think. If it's political, I'm just going to say, but we
Right.
need a way to brace that or soften that up. And I was like, well, but you're an idiot. That's where the name really came from. Big man's an independent. He's not, either thing. So, here's what I have learned was sometimes branding does like because as a guy who owns a marketing company, Real Mark Agency, I own a marketing company. I've been doing it for quite some time. Is successful in a way, and my mom thinks it's successful, and that's all that counts. P&Ls don't matter,
Well,
but
and you're talking to a guy that brands himself as the big man, and my company's called the Big Man in Real Estate. So, I all of that stuff eventually came to the point where,
okay,
ahead where, okay, let's look at making a change in the name. Again, we talk about on the show all the time that you've got to be nimble, you've got to be responsive, you've got to understand, you've got to constantly be critically thinking about your business, your branding, your
yeah,
marketing. And
right,
then we came to, okay, well, we need to rebrand, or we thought we should rebrand into something that
right.
more expressed what we were trying to do. Because at that point, we were, 25, 26 episodes in, somewhere
Okay.
in there. And we just wanted to switch to a name that better,
Reflected what this podcast is, which
right,
is a
what it
business
became.
podcast.
Really, what it
Right.
really, really became after we got out of the, all right, let's get into a rhythm of what we were doing and how we were doing it.
So the first thing we did was we gathered all of our staff. We had a Zoom meeting. I fired everybody on the Zoom meeting, and
That's in no reference to better.com in this past week, but
yeah,
go
I
ahead.
know.
That
Yeah,
right
that
before,
we're going to
like
talk
the
about
December, and we'll get to
oh,
that in I think episode
episode
51.
51.
But
Right.
yeah, that's just atrocious.
So
But go
good.
ahead.
So good. No, and then we just went to work kind of attacking it. But hey, it's a lesson in like you call yourself sometimes if you don't brand something the way that unfortunately as entrepreneurs, and I think of myself as an artist,
Mm-hmm.
you can get married to an idea that nobody else cares about.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
if you get married to an idea nobody else cares about, you're an artist and all you care for is I just want to paint a painting and that's fine. But if you're building something and you want to build an audience and you want to do what the whole goal of this show is, I want to give my half-hearted opinions, uneducated, unresearched, off the just unvarnished opinions on things. I want to get
See, and
I
that's where again, there's nothing wrong with that feeling, and I'm glad you brought up the kind of artist that makes a painting for him or herself, and they want to stare at it. Great, but
God
that
bless.
same artist shouldn't turn around and be like, "Well, somebody should be some." I also want someone to buy this for $1,000,000, right?
Correct.
Like no, like
So
you can't expect that, right? You
so
have to
I
also take into account what that person that wants to give you $1,000,000 wants
once.
in their painting,
Yeah.
right? And
I was watching an interview from Sir Mix-a-Lot, rap artist
I know who
who
Sir Mix-a-Lot is.
we all know him from Baby.
Mm-hmm.
Was giving an interview. The interviewer asked him, you have control of your masters music. We're learning that the public is learning. Taylor Swift, Scooter Braun bought her masters, so or publishing or whatever it is, so she can re-record everything and put it out there, Taylor's version. So that way, Scooter Braun doesn't get paid, and she doesn't have to buy her masters. But the point is,
Mm-hmm.
Mix-a-Lot's like, yeah, I own the masters, I own my own publishing. And some artists and some rappers and musicians don't want to license their music to other people or other projects.
Right.
That I made one song and I made $150 million minimum from, and it blew my mind. Okay,
Right.
that song came out either when I was before I was born or in kindergarten. That man has made. If you found a startup, I was like, yeah, we did $150 million in sales off of one. You'd be
Well,
handing them, you'd be shoveling money into them.
and he still gets paid from it. Like still
Correct.
today, I'm sure he gets royalties off of, you know what I mean? And but
But
that's
that
look,
one thing was like, here's an artist, a guy who made a song. Like, here's the thing: that one hit, I let Nicki Minaj did a version of it or whatever, women's, what have you. And he's like, if anybody wants to license it, I don't stop them. I encourage it because that's how I get paid. Like it allows me to make other music that I want to make that nobody will ever see. Like I make music where I do a show and it's small shows. I'm not doing stadiums, but like I'd rather just have the one song make me a fortune, so I can go make the music where it's 100-person show versus 10,000-person show. Music I don't like,
right.
you
And
know.
that I can then he can now turn around and make any music that he wants that specifically makes him happy that someone
Correct.
may not ever like, and it doesn't
And
matter.
so the weird thing about entrepreneurship is it's half art, half. You kind of have to be an artist to be an innovator and entrepreneur. Science part, well, that part's where it's boring and the accountants start. They just nod off.
Well, but this goes specifically into part of this episode. Danny wanted to do this
Yeah.
50th episode and talk about some of these questions about, how did we get here a year in? How did we, who we are and what we've learned and what we do? And I think that really kind of answers both of those questions. Is you and I break down 4 news stories a week, but really what we're doing is not just breaking down those 4 news stories. As Danny likes to say, he does very little research. He likes to give his
On
opinions
purpose.
and that kind of, where I'm kind of the opposite. I like to know exactly what I'm talking about. But in the balance between those two, hopefully, is getting people that listen to this show to understand something they may not understand about that business, or about that entrepreneurship subject, or how to accomplish some of those things. And this is in that way. I know when I was younger, I got caught up in that's bullcrap. I shouldn't have to change what I want for anyone else to buy it. It should be me.
Yeah.
It should be unique, and beating my head against that wall and not figuring out that little, like you said, he figured out young.
Yeah.
I just need one hit and then I can do whatever I want forever.
Right. And Barbara Corcoran, known from Shark Tank fame, gave a talk, speech. She had a line in there that I think about all the time. Nobody wants what nobody wants, and everyone wants what everyone wants. So if you create something that no one wants, reality is no one's going to keep wanting it. The volume of no one's going to. That is
Right.
like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and
And she's statistically speaking, right? Obviously, there's exceptions to every rule, but she's statistically speaking that 80-90% of your average person all want the same thing, right?
same
They just
concept.
do. That's why things are popular. They
Yeah.
become popular. It's why
So
pop music is called pop music. It's popular with most people, right?
so here's what I've learned in about a year. I started doing 4 stories with somebody else. It was pseudo political, and I hated it. I love doing this format. What I did realize though is if I don't pay really close attention to picking, I do most of the story for.
Mm-hmm.
If I find something that's interesting, and it's interesting when I read it, when I go back and read it a second time, like when we're about to record, I'm like, oh, this story, that's stupid. I should just get rid of it. I should be like, hey, we're not doing that. We're going to do something else. Because sometimes, the big man will do a lot of research. He's talking about it. And I'm just over here. It's just, if I'm not in love with it, you know, 'cause there's a lot of stories I find fascinating about, but that passion or that interest is going to be interesting to the public more than, and this is what I criticized and didn't want to do when business podcast. When the Dow Jones Industrial Average has dropped by 14%, I think that the energy sector is going to pick up. I mean, that's so boring to me. It's NPR of business, which we didn't
Right.
want to do, right?
No,
And
no,
I
no,
think
no. That's I think that's what I've learned over this first year is not only the curation of stories. You and I have gotten better about communicating during the week about
yeah,
stories that we come across that we find interesting or stupid or whatever, and then we turn around and how those stories then turn into our opinions have become less and less about the specific story and more and
right.
more about how we think that story affects entrepreneurship and people, right? And I think that is what you and I want to continue do moving forward
Yeah,
is I want to be able to market explainer break a story down to why it is a story and then what we all as the royal we should learn and apply that story and then how we turn around and I'm just going to say this how we all make money from it. We've talked a lot here recently about certain SPACs and investing and the goods and bads of that
NFTs
kind of stuff,
and
NFTs and blockchain
yeah,
and we're going to talk more. I guarantee you all of that stuff. I sent a story to Danny this week about the metaverse real estate market and these kind of things and we're going to talk about all of those kind of things because what applies to you in business. I want this show, again I'm speaking for myself here, I want this show to help people listen to it, understand business and entrepreneurship and how that understanding can be leveraged to make you more money. That's what I
correct.
want.
And I want that. And I think at the beginning of the outset of this project, Big Ben and I talked about, that's one of the things that we both wanted. I don't so much care about helping people. I'm more interested in earning money for myself. However, I understand that one way of getting there, or the primary way of creating value for people,
Yes.
that
Helping people
involves
typically
helping.
leads to money. So Danny's doing it for the purpose of
And,
specifically getting paid to do it. Where I'm
and
more of the I like both. I like to get paid for things that I
the
enjoy
reason
doing.
the reason I say that, frankly, do because I cannot stand. And this is one of those things that if I see it happening in Austin, I will backhand people. Okay, you see me at the Capitol Factory building. When people talk about, no, we really want to save the world, hashtag world changers, drown in a river.
Drown in the river that you're saving. That's what you got.
Whatever it is. Listen, I get social entrepreneur, but I'm not opposed to it. I'm just saying I see right through the majority of people who talk about my product is going to change the world or my service, whatever it is. Hey, bro, I have a subscription service that sends rocks to people's house. Okay? It's not saving the planet. You can just say, I want to make money and I like rocks. And there's other weirdos out there that like rocks. And I want to make money selling rocks and go sell rocks and make
Why
money.
they got to be weirdos? Okay, you can like rocks and not be a weirdo, but I get your point.
There's nobody normal whose hobby is geology. Okay.
There's a lot of geologists out there that would,
and they're on a watch list.
Okay, so I'm saying if you're a geologist and you want to talk about your rock delivery business, I will book you on this show just to irritate the living crap out of Danny.
It will not irritate me unless you get to say. It drives me up the godforsaken wall, and I see people. Because here's why I want to do the show. Here's why I'm open about my socio-political. It's not wrong to want to make money. It's not wrong to make money. Capitalism is good. It's healthy and effective for most people.
Actually, can we make that a tagline? Market explainer. It's okay to want money. It's okay.
It's not just okay. It is healthy. I had a friend who used to have an apartment with in Austin. We moved down there together. We're not a couple or anything. Not that there's anything wrong with that. We're not. Okay.
You don't have to explain that, but go ahead.
I know. Just my buddy, and he went through this. He just had graduated college and got a job selling Fiats. It was doing great.
Okay.
He struggled with the fact that he knew the profit margin on it. He knew that he was going to make money on it. The girl that we knew had went in there and she said, "Don't feel bad that you're like." He struggled with it. Like, bro, there's like 30 people there who, like, there's service guys in the back.
Mm-hmm.
There's finance. I mean, that finance guy has a wife and kids, and like the entire business rests on somebody buying a Fiat. And guess what? Not pushing anything illicit or unhealthy on them. You're just pushing poorly made Italian.
That is one of the things when I was young, I probably would have had an issue, right? If I knew how much. But as you get older, you understand. I had a great mentor that made me made sense for me that the more money, if you're into helping people, let's just say that's what you're into. Altruistically, right. You just want a simple life and you want to help people. Guess what? I
don't believe you.
I'm just saying, but if that's what you want to do, the more money you make, the more people you can help. That is a cold, hard truth of every nonprofit, every whatever. But so in that, if you apply that to your life and entrepreneurship, the more money we make as a market explainer, for example, the more people we can reach, the more people we can help. It goes hand in hand. You know, if you make no money, you reach no one, you help no one.
No one. So the big man's going to take his 51% and help people. And I'm going to take my 49% and blow it all on Rolex. So you heard me wrong. I said a Rolexus.
Yeah.
A Lexus made of Rolex.
Is that what it is? That's what we're going to see you rolling around in?
No, but I have this weird thing about people who are grossed up. I think it's brainwashed that money is evil, not evil. And it's your friend. I want you to go out there, to quote the Wolf of Wall Street, I want you to go out there and solve all your problems by making money.
Well, there's actually a really good book out there, and I know Danny doesn't like to read, but there's a really good book out there, and it's called The Lie of Being Big or something like that. I'll have to link it. I'll send it to Danny and let him link it down below. But it's like, essentially, it's what you just said. It's about the lie of big is bad. Right? Yeah. That big companies are bad, that making money is bad, that having money is bad, that, you know, that it all leads to evil and bad decisions or whatever. It definitely can for some people, but it doesn't have to. The fact is you should be able to, and Danny says this all the time, the year of the side hustle. I think side hustles are I think we need to redefine that term side hustle and make
Second
money.
stream of income.
Well,
the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. You only have one. I don't know which God you pray to, but pray to that God.
how do you get ahead? How do you get ahead? There's
do
literally an
what they-
article, and maybe we can put it on one of the episodes moving forward. But the article essentially is about a subreddit, a post on subreddit, which more and more articles are coming from places like this, about a guy telling the story of how the now that he works from home, he now is working 3 jobs, making $150,000, working less and making more because he can do all 3 jobs from home. He can complete all 3 jobs in a 6 or 7 hour workday. Right?
You know that we already did this story, right?
Well, but I'm just saying, it's yet another example over and over of where a side hustle is really just the hustle. If you can do it from your home, if you have, if you can do things in such a way that allow you to double and triple the amount of income, not hours.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to work 24 hours a day, right? But the allotted time, if you're wanting to commit,
is kind of rough.
Well, but I agree with you, right? But that's my point is I want to make a certain amount of money working 5 hours a day instead of 8 hours a day or 12 hours a day. You have to do that by either increasing the amount of hourly money you create or increasing the multiples of those revenue streams. As you said, the average millionaire has 7, right? So that's what I want to, people to get out of this.
Yeah, so what one thing I've learned is in this year of podcasting that we've done is, first of all, I love it and I'm not going to quit. I know that we're just building something.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other things I've learned is, gosh, there's so much I don't know. There are
you and me both, brother.
Listen, dumb ways to get millions of dollars in this United States. Listen, I just want to say this much. I'm the child of immigrants. I take this American dream thing really seriously because my family gave up land, which is still for inheritance. They gave up opportunity. My old man is stuck in the country the day he left. He lives here and he's an American and he loves capitalism and he likes making money. And he sacrificed his creature comforts to give me an opportunity. And if you don't have that weighing on you as a young person, I'm not young anymore. I'm middle-aged. I'm 30-something. But I'm just saying that doesn't, and that's why I think certain, cross sections of people don't succeed at the same rate as perhaps the Asian Indians have you, because they don't have that weighing on them. That somebody gave up the thing that they love, they really like. And I want other people to feel that weight of like, hey, and you can go on YouTube right now. Started with business news was new. We could come up with a show every week, business news, because there's something wacky happening every day.
Mm-hmm.
But the long-term strategy for what we're doing here, the vision is really, like the big man said, it's integrating more and more of those. How does this work to put money in your pocket? Because, like I said, I'm really focused, kind of an Ayn Randian solution here. I'm really focused on putting money in my pocket. And in order to put money in my pocket, I have to provide you with value.
Right.
And that's a very straightforward transaction. And so I want to provide value for the end listener. That value in both of our, we kind of agree here, first time for everything. I want to make sure that you figure out how to put extra money in your pocket. Hey, I don't know what the future. I think life is going to only get wackier in 20. All right.
Well, and continue to go from there, because I think we're looking at a new standard of, we're going to talk about, we've had conversations, and guess what? The Great Resignation, as they call it, is going to have some ramifications, you think, on business the next several years, and how that all plays out, and seeing that on the other side. Look, I've gotten to where I am in life, and I'm very thankful for it. I am the son of Texans that had nothing, and what I've learned, how I've gotten to where I've gotten is a little different than Danny, in that it's sharing. I learned that there is plenty to go around. There is nothing that I need to take from someone else or be greedy about from someone else or whatever. I didn't have to make myself by taking away from others. I figured out in my path, and again, this is not everyone's, but in my path, I figured out that I could share the wealth, and by doing that, it gave me more wealth. I created more wealth by sharing wealth, and it worked out very well for me. Now, again, that's not everybody's path. It was my path. You know what I'm saying?
But let me tag on to one thing that you said there, the Great Resignation, and going off of that. Listen, by 2023, the economy will look nothing like it did.
Nothing.
Good or bad.
Good or bad. Nothing.
Right? I am moving back down. I live north of Dallas right now. I'm moving back down to get into real estate. I haven't finished the license yet. So, but one of the reasons, as this economy turns around, there's going to be a lot of commercial property that. And but what I'm trying to tell you is, there is going to be opportunity. Whatever you are, 2020, regardless of the situation of Dos Equis, the changes are going to be permanent. By 2023, we're going to start living with the new reality. And the economy will look nothing like. And you have 1 year to figure out how to capitalize.
Well, that to me is what I'm excited about over the next year in the future of Market Explainer, is being a part of that week in and week out, right? Is being a part of watching that happen, explaining that throughout, helping people understand how and why and what it's happening and what effect it'll have based on our opinions, and then coming out the other side of it. That's, to me, what I'm excited about Market Explainer throughout this, is we are going to be able to watch that and then talk about it week in and week out as those changes happen, because like you said, good or bad, and it's never going to be the same again. Things like this, like Dos Equis, are change things, period, forever. Things come out the other side just differently, and how that happens, and and guess what? That all means opportunity. Whether it's good or bad, it all means opportunity.
There are, I know, about a half dozen crash, and they've made fortune. So
opportunity. That's all.
Correct.
Good or bad, no matter what's happening in the world, there's opportunity.
Yes, and that opportunity is drastically global. Opportunity used Western thing, and this is rapidly becoming one of those things where Danny in Mexico, okay, on the other side of the border of that, and whatever it is, but that's definitely where my brain is at when it comes to this show. Listen, I love doing this; a lot of fun. So we're going to keep doing it.
That international thing is interesting to me, because we have international listeners. Our show, because it does live on the internet, obviously is available around the world. And it always, when I'm looking,
they have internet other places.
I always look at the numbers and stuff like that of who and where people are listening to our show, and I think, because I always in my mind think, oh, this is going to be a very American show, Texas based show. I mean, it's just in my head, right? And then you look at where a lot of our listeners and stuff like that come from other places, and what I've realized, especially now being part of two companies that have, obviously made it to, publicly traded and stuff like that, and being international companies, is it really, you just don't know where it's going to stick. Market Explainer could be big in, I don't know, the UK, right? And for whatever reason, not as much in Florida. I'm just saying, right. You know what I mean? Like, we could be big in, Northern Ireland, and, you know what I'm saying? Not as big in whatever. Which is
the Free Ireland? I want to be with the Free Ireland.
You want to be with the Free Ireland? So, not the occupied Ireland.
Not the UK Ireland.
Not the... Danny is fine getting money from wherever it comes from. He doesn't care whether you're in Free Ireland or UK Ireland, or I don't think... whatever. The point is, I think the entirety of Ireland is in the UK, but we're ignorant Americans. What do we know? So...
I always like to remind people that when I was a kid, I would get on the internet. I never had to scroll down to get to the United States, because this country defied alphabet.
Right.
I didn't have to scroll because it was just
right. No, it's right at the top.
Because who's in Aruba using the internet? Don't have the internet in Aruba.
And that is what I have to deal with on a weekly basis, folks, is Danny saying things like, who in Aruba uses the internet? So that's exactly, that's what I have to deal with during this show, is Danny's statement like that. That is the epitome.
I know that they have the internet in Aruba because that's where all my bank accounts.
Oh, don't explain yourself, Danny. This is... Don't explain yourself. That is the epitome of what this show is.
All right.
So we've talked about the past, we've talked about the present, we've talked about the future. What else do you want to tell these people before we let them get on about their day?
I don't know. I mean, you can go to riselentless.com, buy a coffee mug.
Yep.
Right?
You can go to bigmangear.com and buy a t-shirt.
Graphic t-shirt delivered by Amazon. Jeff Bezos comes to our poker game every Thursday with Elon Musk and Joe. Personally. And Relentless, Powerhouse Drones.
You can go to the link down below and buy gold.
Correct.
Okay.
Sponsors, our website and our Patreon. And we're going back to the way things were for episode 51. I already got 4 pretty fun stories out, so all I got to say. I do got a tip of the week.
Well, really quick, if you go to marketexplainer.com, there is a link on the back end of the website where you can contact us if you do have a book or a product, because this is a business news podcast. If you have a book or a product you'd like to come and talk about, that kind of stuff, you can reach out. Our assistants will get back to you and schedule you for that kind of stuff. So you can go to marketexplainer.com, click on contact us. It will send, the help desk a link or a email so that you can set up to come on the show. I want to offer that out there to our listeners. You do look, again, that's one of the things I think Danny and I need to get better at in the future, is helping the people that listen to this show, because you have products. If you're listening to this show, you're thinking about business, and if you're thinking about business, you should be doing business, and if you're doing business, there's nothing wrong with getting some exposure, talking about business, surrounding yourself with people that talk about business and that kind of stuff. So go to Market Explainer, reach out to us. We'll get you booked on the show, and you can listen. You can what do you call it? Expose your product, talk about your product, talk about your business. That's right. To Danny, not to everyone else, but yes, go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to give everyone a tip of the week and just remind everyone that money is not a real thing. And things that aren't real cannot hurt.
That is not true at all. And all right, folks, we'll see you on episode 51. Enjoy.